Positive data reports are now popping up really in a consistent manner across the US, letting us know that inflation is actually being capped and coming the other direction. But yet the markets and mortgage interest rates, for example, still remain volatile. Why is that the deal? Well, let's go ahead and let's cover that right after this. So if you pay attention to the markets like I do, probably one of the big giant questions you might be asking yourself is, what is going on and why is the stock market, bond markets, etc. still remaining volatile, and especially mortgage interest rates? Well, really, that kind of comes down to what is the one factor that the Fed still doesn't have that is showing them positive signs that their monetary policies are working. Before we dive into that, of course, my name is Mike Petras with MPRE Residential. And of course, if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate right here in the greater Boise, Idaho area, please feel free to reach out to me via the contact information below. Also, when you're watching this video, please give me a like and a comment below. And if you have any questions, please include them in the comments. I'm very, very responsive to those, but also would like to hear your thoughts on what you think is going to happen next with the Fed, their policies, how it's going to affect inflation, and how it could eventually filter on down to the real estate market. So I look forward to hearing those. So what is the one thing in the data that is still making investors nervous when it comes to returning to the bond market, say especially? Well, it's going to be jobs. That is the one thing that the Fed's monetary policies, creating a softened labor market, that is still has not happened here across the US. But that's not the only thing. Wage increases are also something that is on the mind of the Fed, even though those are kind of starting to take the other direction to make them a little bit more comfortable when it comes to raising their monetary policies and the federal funds rate. Jobs still is the number one aspect that the data is showing. Before we go any further though, let's have a quick breakdown of the federal funds rate and how it applies to mortgage interest rates. Well, really, the answer to that question is it really doesn't directly. The federal funds rate, really in a nutshell, affects short-term lending, say like credit card interest rates, car loan interest rates, and if you want to take out that hot tub, it's going to go ahead and affect that too. So what the Fed is really trying to get you to do is to stop taking out cheap money, stop taking out loans to be able to buy everyday goods and services that you need. But how it indirectly affects mortgage interest rates is that generally when the federal funds rate goes up, you can expect bond prices to fall. And if we're looking at the 10-year Treasury note, which with that particular bond really correlates to mortgage interest rates, especially fixed rates, when the price goes down, we can see the yields go up. And when the yields go up, you can expect mortgage interest rates to follow suit. However, in terms of simplicity, in just explaining this, if inflation is going up, so do mortgage interest rates, and as inflation is coming down, mortgage interest rates do the same. Returning back though and throwing out now technical terms like the core PCE, core CPI reports, ISM, etc., we have noticed that month over month and actually year over year, we have noticed that inflation is now going down according to the monetary policy set by the Fed. We have also noticed that wage increases, which they are trying to quelch too, except for some major companies, is actually starting to take in the direction that they want. And even supply chains on a global aspect are now starting to actually kind of return back towards the normalcy direction. But again, the labor markets here in the US is still the one thing that really hasn't changed, which is showing strong labor markets to the Fed, which is something that they want to correct and soften. And in a nutshell, in order to put more pressure on the labor markets, they're going to increase the federal funds rate and put the screws down on business so that we can put labor markets more into balance. Because right now there's a lot more available jobs than people willing to fill them. Hence, what is making investors so nervous is how much harder is the Fed going to squeeze the federal fund rates over in 2023 that is going to affect the labor markets, and is it going to put us into a recession? And there's a lot of economists out there that now think that a recession is inevitable because the Fed has taken too hard of a monetary stance. So far, data reports like the ISM, especially the services report that came out, has now slipped into recessionary territory that is making investors nervous. But the key is here that investors know that the Fed has to increase the federal funds rate, but now at what kind of a level within 2023, and for how long are they going to do it? Now, the Fed has definitely made it clear that they're planning on raising the federal funds rate throughout 2023 and keeping it there. But markets always react before the Fed does. And with uncertainty in the air, you can guarantee the volatility. So now you may be asking yourself, well, hey, Mike, I'm thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate anywhere across the U.S. Where is somewhere that I can go ahead and pay attention to these numbers when it comes to the jobs? Well, the key spot for me is looking at marketwatch.com, especially the section with the U.S. economy calendar. Some of the key areas that I take a look at is the initial jobless claim, which is talking about how many people are applying for unemployment for that particular week. I also look at the ADP report when it comes to employment, which is what they also look at. The non-farm payrolls, which is everything employment-wise from government to private sector, not including farm jobs. And then lastly, I also take a look at the unemployment rate. Unfortunately, lately, the initial jobless claims has been on the way down, showing that less and less people are actually obtaining unemployment. The ADP employment reports are showing that more people are getting jobs. Same with the non-farm payrolls, and the unemployment rate really isn't rising at any kind of a level that's making a significant impact. So what does this mean in the end? Well, first, let's take a look at the real definition of inflation, and that is too much money out there to buy up too little goods. And in order to create price stability and more goods on the shelves, they're trying to stop you from basically being able to go out there and spend it by your wage increases and by really available jobs. I know, sounds whack, right? But they're trying to bring this back into balance so they can create price stability. Because really, in the end, what is pricing? Supply and demand. And they are trying to quell how much money is actually in circulation. But the scary part is that over the years, we have seen that the Fed is not perfect and they over-tighten, which leads to recession, basically stalling of the U.S. economy. This will force the Fed, when we're in a recession, to use tools in order to boost the U.S. economy back to good levels. But really, while their monetary policies really aren't affecting the labor markets as much as they wish, it is creating fears that inflation here in the U.S. will remain entrenched. This is making investors nervous and the markets volatile as they're anticipating the Fed to get more aggressive and do it for longer. So if the Fed really continues to over-tighten and holds it for longer, which they're anticipating to continue to tighten and hold it throughout 2023, we can expect people to lose their jobs as this job market begins to soften. However, according to the data and the Fed itself, there are far too many jobs out there than people willing to fill them. So the big giant question is, how will the labor markets really be affected? Right now, there's a lot of economists out there that think that the stock market is going to drop about 20% over 2023 because of the fears of entrenched inflation and job loss. And these companies are also not reporting the profits that they once did. So what can we expect? As companies lose money, they're going to start shedding the jobs. And in the stock market, as people begin to start losing money in the stock market, they'll go back into the bond market, which is a lot more stable of a return of investment. And as we know, as the price of bonds go up, the yields go down and mortgage interest rates will come with it. But back to job loss right quick, one of the areas that we have really seen a big change in employment-wise is definitely in the tech sector. And really why? Because when money was cheap, a lot of these tech companies were acquiring other tech companies, and really the technology hasn't really increased or become any better over the last decade or so. So there was really a lot of poor investing, etc., that really took its toll on this particular employment market. So if we take a look at the tech industry and really its impact on our local level right here in the Treasure Valley, is it really going to make that big of a difference and result in maybe a lot of foreclosures happening to homes as people lose their jobs? Well, regarding the tech industry, the greater Boise, Idaho area or the Treasure Valley really doesn't have a ton. Some of the major companies is Micron and HP. And these really make up only about 3% of the total employment here in our local area, give or take 2% in the upwards direction. So could the Treasure Valley see a lot of foreclosures in housing due to layoffs in the tech sector? Really not in an impact way that would really affect our real estate market here. not as compared to places, say in the Silicon Valley, like San Jose, San Francisco, Palo Alto, etc. Mainly, some of our strongest labor markets here in the Treasure Valley include food service, construction, production, healthcare, etc. And we do know that food service, construction, and production has been affected by inflation, but we'll just have to see how much by if a recession ends up taking hold. But if the recession does take hold, keep in mind that the Fed will have to loosen its monetary policy, which will help business regain its steam. So in the end, do I see a lot of foreclosures popping up that would be able to dump home values, say like it did in 2008, right here in the Treasure Valley? Not as impactful as other places across the United States. Plus, on top of that, because we're a red state that seems to have it together, a lot of these states still want to move to our area. So do I see a huge effect in terms of prices continuing to crash down here in the Treasure Valley? I do not see that happening. Also, people do have equity in their homes right here in the Treasure Valley, and there's no subprime mortgage crisis like we had back in 2008. So are we going to have a huge influx of foreclosures popping up in 2023? I don't think that's going to be happening. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. Please comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this information and what you think is going to happen in 2023. So let's switch gears and see what's on the docket for the rest of this week. Of course, we have our initial jobless claims that's going to come in, which is a key factor in the jobs reporting. We do want to see that number go up if we're going to anticipate the Fed to start feeling comfortable with what's happening in the labor markets. And then, of course, we got our core PCE reports that are coming out on Friday. And remember, if our core PCE numbers come in under what's projected, then you can expect the markets to feel a lot more comfortable about what the Fed is going to be doing next week come February 1st. And if the markets feel comfortable, then we can expect them to invest and mortgage interest rates to come down. But much like the core CPI report that came out, what was it, about a couple weeks back, the projections really kind of stayed what they anticipated in the median forecast. But there still was investors that came back that saw that as positive news. But usually when it stays at the median of what they're forecasting, then you can expect maybe not too much activity to happen in the markets. So keep your eye on the data, especially when it comes to jobs. Look up marketwatch.com and keep in tune to this, because this is really the area that is affecting inflation and really making the markets volatile. But of course, if you want somebody that's going to go ahead and pay attention to this, break it down into videos for you so that you can understand what's happening in this market and how it relates to real estate, especially right here in the Treasure Valley, please subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell. More than happy to explain it to you. And please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions or comments that you have. Well, thanks again, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And again, if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest right here in the Treasure Valley, feel free to reach out to me. If you're looking to move here to the Treasure Valley, greater Boise, Idaho area from out of state, please click in the description below. Download my free relocation guide so that way you're in the know before you decide to make the move. And of course, my name is Mike Petras with MPRE Residential. And if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest, please feel free to reach out to me. Please comment below. Would love to hear your thoughts about what you think is going to happen in the real estate market right here in the Treasure Valley, or even across the U.S., and what you think might be happening with inflation. Would definitely love to hear your thoughts on that. Also, hit the subscribe button, please. Click the notification bell so that you're constantly in tune with all the videos that I do come up with. Thanks again, everybody. I look forward to the day we speak. I look forward to calling you my neighbor. God bless. Until then, until the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.